Laura Palmer is dead.
A Twin Peaks podcast, The Return, parts 5 and 6. Yay. We are back after it feels like a very long hiatus.
It really does.
We've heard your letters, your phone calls, your emails, your tweets. We know.
Deafening silence. We heard that reverberating through the ages, and we're like...
We know you're wondering, where are those sweet, sweet podcasts we were promised? Yeah, Tom and Melissa had to go to Mexico. So
we were okay with it.
Yeah, I was going to try to say something very Mexican, but it's like when you sit... You know when you come back from a foreign country and, like, you always learn how to say, like, thank you in whatever language. So, like, when
overly accented, like, gracias. With,
like, when we came back from... Yeah, when we came back from Paris, I was saying, merci to everyone. Like, oh, thank you, merci. And then, like, when we got back from Mexico, we ordered pizza, and Jose... Jesus, the pizza delivery guy, delivered it to me, and I said gracias, and it comes off kind of
real
weird
different
and condescending.
Real different in Chicago
when you have a very large Hispanic community around you, and like
it's one thing to do it in the country where that's the native language.
And in all fairness, his English was very limited.
Right. Oh, well then maybe that was okay then.
But it still felt very bad.
I referenced you to the Wayne Brady episode of 30 Rock when he did that, and that was one of the reasons that Liz Lemon hated him. Because he was to the waiter, he's like, gracias. And then he was...
it made me feel... And, like, I have to now, like, stop myself from doing it.
You have to remind yourself.
Like, because it's too... like merci
is
like just like whatever.
Everyone tried to do it like 10 years ago until it just became like obnoxious. Like,
and now I feel like weirdly on the cusp of being kind of douchey.
Moving on.
Of douchey. Yes, we missed some time.
Anywho.
We were very excited to get right back in with Twin Peaks. Leaving in right away with number theory. We've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Starting out episode 5 with Rancho Rosa and a new character, Lorraine. I believe she's new, right? She's introduced for the first time. She's a worrier and is organizing the hit on Dougie with the two guys in the car who names have escaped me. And she does something, something is set in motion in the beginning of this episode that leads to that weird light that
she
then
signals a beaper in South America.
That says Argent 2, the beeper.
Argentina, so Argentina.
Oh, Argentina. I was like, what's an Argent? Yeah, and so
I have Argent written down too.
Buenos Argent.
Argent is French for gold.
To bring it back to
and then
Argentina is like gold land. It's French for gold. Argent.
Ooh. And at the end of the episode, the box turns into another one of those little gold beans or whatever that Dougie turns into.
To bring it back to your Spanish-speaking ways, it's pronounced Buenos Aires.
Sorry, I'm really bad with accents.
So something is set in motion there. We get back to Constance and her autopsy and learn more about the man's body, and that the man is wearing a ring that says, "To Dougie with love from Jane E." So it's Dougie's ring. Those two scenes are fine, but we get to a great scene, finally, a scene that I feel like is a big payoff for fans with Evil Coop in prison. When he starts with like, now food is coming. And they have this great, because I've been wondering how were we going to address the difference between Evil Coop versus Bob? Like, is Bob there? Up till this point, we don't see Bob. We've only seen like Evil
entities,
Coop.
Yeah.
But here, Evil Coop's looking in the mirror, and they do spoon feed us that flashback of Bob first to like remind us of the fact that Coop at the end of season 2 was possessed by Bob, which is a little bit like we probably if you're watching up until this point, you don't need that.
I mean, and the shit that they're feeding us that we need to know from like I don't know Firewalk and all that other stuff where they don't feed it to us. It's like, oh, okay, like in part 6, where it's like Carl was in Fire Walk with Me, right? He was the guy.
I'm sure you're glad you watched it now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So doesn't Evil Coop say like you're still with me?
Yes,
good,
and they do
like
such
that?
a great.
He does
such a great like CG effect, I think, where they actually kind of meld Kyle MacLachlan's face with Frank Silva's face.
Yes,
and it's pretty effective and pretty real, and it happens slowly. It gave me the chills. I thought
like,
it was really good.
He's like, good, you're still in there. So he's either using Bob's like energy.
But I wonder if at this point
pushed him aside.
Yeah, it made me think that he's pushed
it's
like
unclear,
Evil Coop has taken over and almost is able to like shut out Bob and not use him and just is independent of Bob. But yeah, kind of weird. In a show that really never spoon feeds you.
Yeah.
Where like
they spoon feed the thing that you like know the most.
Right.
It's like,
it felt like
is Bad Coop
it's
evil?
Because,
I knew that. I knew that he was possessed by
fairness,
Bob.
Like the weird CGI thing was Bob, but you had to be like looking for Bob in order to really see the Bob. So I get why they did it, but it was like, yes.
Could you imagine how cool? I mean, how much cooler it would have been if they didn't do the flashback and you just had to kind of be like, "Ooh, that was a cool little Easter egg."
Right. And they said, but not as much because he's not fully Bob anymore.
Right. Yes. Then we get a really sweet scene with Mike, which I like strangely love that they found a way to just bring Mike in for a moment. Mike as in Snake of Snake and Bopper.
Oh.
Yeah, Mike's the real estate guy, or of Mike and Nadine.
Yeah.
And I think the bit is that, or is it real estate or car?
It's whatever, like
car salesman.
The cracky head guy comes in and they're like, he's like, this resume is bullshit. Like,
He's
I
like,
didn't know that was.
He's like, get your act together and act responsibly.
I did not catch that at all.
Which is just cute that it was Mike telling a teenager who was like a former Mike. I like how they...
But with a way heavier coke problem. Way.
Yeah, like Mike was a douche, but he was a douche in like an 80s ski movie with John Cusack, not in like...
Yeah, Mike was still a good kid. He went to school.
Dude.
He was probably... We don't know what
and
grades
he redeems himself. But I do love that, like, Mike is now totally a dad. He's totally, like, act responsibly, young man. And just calls... the kid calls Stephen into his office, not to give him the job, but just to tell him why he didn't get the job. So he's like a very responsible dad figure.
It's like, let me tell you how bad you've screwed up here.
Yeah. I put Doris. Okay, so Sheriff's wife Doris. Man, I struggle with her. I don't know what we're trying to do here. What are we trying to do, David Lynch?
She's kind of the new Nadine, just like screaming.
But it's not funny bad acting, and then I guess.
And it's
but Nadine wasn't necessarily
funny. But it's also not soapy enough.
Right.
It's they're not making really any use
really
of the soapiness
it's not really a soap parody anymore.
No.
Yeah, I feel like it's less.
It's all Lynch.
There are parts that are like soapy, like legitimately soapy, where you're just like, what am I looking at? Like, I don't know.
I think that where it kind of fails is
like why. So many times I'm asking myself, why are we watching this scene? And with Lynch, you assume it's going to pay off. But
not always.
But yeah, well, you don't.
Or hardly.
Yeah, you got like maybe a 1 in 4 shot that this information is going to be relevant. Yeah. And if it is, you'll probably have forgotten the scene that you're thinking about by the time you like get to the next bit in the plot line. At least
Unless
I do.
you're taking notes and podcasting.
Like I watched part 5 the first time, at least a couple weeks ago, I guess, maybe before we left for Mexico even, and then or like when it came out, we just rewatched it and like I had forgotten like half the stuff that happens, and like a lot of it's referenced back in episode 7, which we're not going to talk about today, but like. I had forgotten that all this stuff was set up for 7 and 5. It's frustrating, Lynch. We can't all be on your level.
It is a little frustrating. I think one thing that I noticed, so I did like a rewatch of the first 5 in a row because I was thinking about how I wanted to experience it as a binge watch to see how that would feel and how that would change things. and I was writing down character names because I was trying to like help us out if we were going to do a PowerPoint part 2, like to get that rolling. So I was writing all the character names, and I was noticing that they were adding exponentially fewer and fewer each episode, even though there's so many characters. They're not adding as many new ones. I think there might be some strategy going on here on Lynch's part of like, if I introduce so much that you don't know what's important, you're paying attention to everything and trying to read into everything, and it kind of puts you into this heightened state of like awareness.
Yeah.
And given his attachment to transcendental meditation, that sort of fits. So I'm wondering if because there are times he throws us off the scent on purpose.
He does.
I know,
yeah.
and part of me is like, are we more hyper aware just because of we do this podcast, so we take notes, we pay attention, we jot down anything where we're
texting each other number theory.
Like, my new philosophy is I watch it just to watch it, and then when I watch it again, I'm like, oh, look at that number in the background. I'm just going to jot that down because that might come back again. And so, but as a casual watcher, you wouldn't be doing that. You would just be like, okay, I'm just going to try to get the major plot points going on, especially now with Netflix, like how we consume the media. It's we sit for 12 hours and we watch the full season, straight through, and then
like would this hold up in a binge?
This would I feel like it'd be better than a binge watch. Like I wish we could have watched this.
It would be better in a binge.
It would be better in a binge.
You'd be able to follow all these threads like that are intertwining and not. We discussed my memory issues. Like, I'm not recalling all these little, like I've forgotten about, like, the Argentina box that turns into a little ball.
Right, which could be absolutely nothing. Or it could be, like, literally the meaning of the entire show. But, like, one thing with the... Yeah. With the rewatch, that's a 7 thing, never mind. But there's, like, number theory from the first 30 seconds of the first episode that come back later. And it's like, whoa... You have to be just, like, so on the ball. So I guess what we're saying, guys, is if you are listening to this podcast, very good for you. You need it to watch the show.
And then some numbers are like what Melissa said before, 119 is just 911 backwards. So there's another misleading, like...
Yeah, they do throw... I think he does like to throw you off on purpose a little bit. But then again, I think there's other things that are too long and going on too long. Like... Dougie. There's always comedic leverage with Kyle MacLachlan. He's so sweet.
He's a great actor, but by the end of the part 5, you're like, he does not seem like he's mentally stable. How does his family and friends not be like, dude, like, did this guy have a stroke and no one's, like, paying attention to it? Like,
Janie says she's going to take him to see Dr. Ben.
Finally, she says you're acting as weird as shit.
Part 6, it's like, well, thank the fucking Lord that someone
you're having to point him to the bathroom when he has to go to the bathroom. You're having, like...
And people just giggle about it. And I was like, really?
Right. It begs the question, like, who was Dougie before this? That they're, like, not acting like this is crazy.
I wanted to bring it... I actually had this thought, like, when I was watching a non-Dougie scene, but, like, it's definitely appropriate for Dougie scenes, which is, like, in the Lynchverse, you're kind of thinking, why isn't someone in this scene saying, why are you acting so weird in, like, every single scene? There's always
saying,
someone
where's Poochie every time Poochie's not in a scene.
There's, like, always someone just being, like, ridiculously inappropriate.
I just want,
like,
I want to see the person in the background with, like, this face on going...
And when he's, like, in the lobby just kind of wandering in a circle, I'm like, some friendly receptionist would run up and be like, can I help you, sir? Or, like, security. There's so many times he's just left to his own devices.
Because somehow he comes home, he's, like, 30 pounds thinner, and he doesn't speak in complete sentences. And we're just like, Jesus Christ, Dougie, get your shit together. But it's like... Dude, like...
And he had a whole life before, like, he wasn't living in a home, like, he had a job and a wife and a kid, and, like,
it's really
he was a functioning human being, and he's now not just functional at all. And people are, like, just sort of like, oh, Dougie's a little off today.
Right. You know, I just had a thought. I don't know if this is what they're doing, but... Because we just watched that moment where you find out about Doris and the sheriff's son committed suicide, and it's because of PTSD. I think it was at 6 or 5.
6.
That's
that
6.
Was 6, yeah.
But I'm jumping ahead for a reason, listeners. I'm wondering if the Dougie story is kind of a metaphor about PTSD. Like, that's what it's like when you have PTSD, that you've come back and something's wrong with you. You went through this horrific ordeal and, like, something's wrong, but people are just acting like everything's fine and trying to plug you right back into your old spot, but you don't fit. I'm wondering if there's something there.
I don't know if he's making, like, a comment on our current political situation, but I do believe that, like, that's exactly what he's portraying in that character.
Because he has PTSD from being in the Black Lodge for 25 years. Right. And the way that we treat soldiers returned from war is like trying to not see that they exist, or trying to not see that they have a problem, not trying to help.
Right,
and
right. Ignore
I'm wondering if that's
ignore the problem.
Treat them as if they're normal, but
I'm wondering if there's something there. I mean, I always appreciated like, one of my favorite things about the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that in the end, Frodo isn't happy. You know, like he
did it
because you wouldn't when you go through emotional trauma. There's a cost, and like Cooper has gone through a trauma. That could totally be complete malarkey, but if that's what Lynch is doing, like, cool.
Yeah,
that's
Bilbo
cool.
is so changed by his time with the ring,
right?
That he has to like go off
like
to the Elven
there
land.
isn't a happily ever after.
Yeah, he can't.
Which I always appreciated. I thought that stuff with kind of like PTSD from the Hobbits was really good. Totally good stuff. Oh, okay. So
half
statue.
My notes just say. No one thinks he has mental illness,
right.
question mark.
Totally does, though.
Yeah.
So no one sees
the word
having
stroke
issues.
runs through my mind many times.
Right. I mean, it seems like something severely wrong.
Yeah.
The only one who said that was Jade, too. Nobody else.
I know, Jade's really with it.
Yeah.
Jade's on top.
The statue at Lucky 7 Insurance... I try not to read other Twin Peaks blogs or like look at other things, but I couldn't help but see
contamination incoming.
I got contaminated. That there is a fan theory going around all over the place that the statue is David Bowie, and that it resembles a character he played in like the 70s. Let's see, 1976, which is so
part of the courthouse in Vegas.
Oh, maybe it is.
Not that statue though.
Okay.
I said like that
courtyard.
That courtyard looks like it could be the actual courthouse in Vegas. I'm not sure if it is or not, but it's similar style.
So there's
very well
there's talk that
they might have shot it there. I don't know, and I don't think the statue's actually there. Okay. I think I would remember that, but I don't know.
Yeah, so that the statue that I thought was Roosevelt at first.
Roosevelt's a cowboy.
A very svelte Roosevelt.
That's what I wrote in my notes. Was like,
no
Dougie
glasses.
loves the Roosevelt statue.
Very thin.
There's like nothing to connect that to Teddy Roosevelt at all.
Not one thing. I just went with it.
Yeah.
So he's really into it, but maybe
so many other things that it could be.
Yeah.
So many.
Sure true. Sure true.
Roosevelt was once photographed wearing that sort of hat, I guess, is where you're getting that.
That's what I'm going from.
Yeah.
That one day.
Yeah, that one picture.
Yeah. Obviously, Lucky 7 is first obvious number theory thing. It's Lucky 7 Insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of 7s.
Yeah.
Lots of 3s.
We meet the full staff of Lucky 7.
Odd numbers only.
Prime numbers also. And
right.
There's twos.
And
so 1, 2, 3, 5, 7.
A lot of them are divisible by one of those prime numbers too. All the numbers that come up.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I love it. Interesting power that Dougie now. I've been calling them.
You played that game as a child, but some of us did.
I love it. So I think I'm calling it Black Lodge powers, but like all the times that Dougie gets like little clues of something, it's like a Black Lodge power. He gets a little Black Lodge intuition in the staff meeting that Tony is lying.
Yeah.
And he just goes, he's lying, which I really like. It reminds me of Saga fans of Lying Cat. If you are a Saga and Twin Peaks fan, why we're not best friends, like, just call me. Let's hang out. But yeah, so there's some powers of intuition. He gets the case files. Ooh, I love this. So every once in a while, Kyle MacLachlan will repeat something back and say it totally normally regular Cooper.
Right.
And it's usually something that's tied to his past. So, like, the first time he says case files, he's just like, case files, like, in a normal voice, like Cooper, not like Dougie.
Not like Stroke Dougie.
Not like Stroke Dougie. I think I just miss him.
Can we also talk about how Dougie's car is stuck in this model home, which is fine, but somehow this is drawing thieves? Even though there are other cars in other driveways throughout the whole thing. So a car drives by playing metal music, so you know they're the bad guys because it's heavy metal. And they drive by once, and then they drive by again, and are like, no one has claimed this car yet. This car hasn't moved, so obviously we should steal it.
Yeah.
Like, it's
and
really...
it's not like a nice car.
No, it's a totally shitty car.
They make the point of talking about how shitty of a car it is.
Like, we drive shitty cars.
People don't steal shitty cars.
Yeah.
But people do steal... I mean, sometimes...
Except for Toyota Corollas, because those...
Are very easily
their parts
stolen.
are swapped out easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know someone
they used to be widely stolen because there were so many on the road that, like, you could sell the parts to anybody.
Yeah. I knew someone who had, like, a Acura, but it was an older model, and someone just stole all the seats out of it. Like, he went to go to work, and there was no seats in his car.
Oh, my God.
And so he's like, I was on the phone, and I had to be like, I'll call you back. I gotta call the insurance company. Because, like, it was an old enough model where they didn't have the seats, so people just stole stuff.
Oh my God.
Chicago.
Speaking of stole stuff, what do you guys think of Jim Belushi in this?
Well, he stole my heart and the scene.
Yeah,
I don't think he didn't work for me.
Not needed.
Yeah.
He did not work for me. I mean, he gets a lot of hate that's not really warranted. I don't
Does
like
he?
him.
I think he got a lot of like unnecessary love.
Well, no. There's been a huge backlash against Jim Belushi.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For Twin Peaks or just
no,
in general?
like in his
I was like, who even is noticing?
Like there's stories about like him urinating on a craft services table or something like that. Yeah, like
wow. I was more just thinking I couldn't tell if he was doing the like David Lynch fake bad acting or real bad acting or just was poorly cast or what was going on, but he just wasn't working for me in this scene with him and pit boss Warwick and Supervisor Burns.
I like Supervisor Burns.
Supervisor Burns is great.
All of the names of
I like
everything.
I like the other guy too. He's weird looking.
He's got the weird
but
face.
Jim Belushi, no. He's too
there's something
Have you guys
too
explained
recognizable.
Sitcom.
Have you guys explained to our listening public how you know the names of all these minor characters?
Yes, because of the Fire Stick.
Yeah.
We have given the Fire Stick a lot of love.
IMDb.
It is the greatest invention, though. And it, like, gives you this song. That's what's great, because normally I'm scrambling to tune find to try and find, like, songs in the episode. Because I love to make playlists inspired by episodes of TV. Hence, At the Bang Bang Bar that I just started on Spotify. But yeah, love the Fire Stick. That's the thing, too, is, like, we don't know if these are minor characters or if they'll come back and be super important.
Yeah, it's really upsetting. 3 showgirls, 40 jackpots, $425,000. Which again,
they don't
just hand you a $500,000 in cash.
There's so many ways they don't do this goes down. They like how it would not go down.
Which is understandable by why this house guy, like how the casino.
Definitely
guy got fired.
If you hit 2 jackpots in a day, they're pulling you off the floor and not letting you get back in that casino until they figure out what the hell happened.
I liked the...
and they're not giving you cash anytime soon either.
So now I'm starting to think a lot of this stuff is misdirection. I like having the 3 pretty blonde women because, I mean, how much does that misdirect you? Just 3 beautiful blondes in a matching costume. Yeah. And the one of them is kind of like unaffectedly moving her hand like on an air current almost as Burns gets beat up, which I think is a really cool like move that's very Lynch-like. That sometimes when evil things kind of happen,
those 3 women are very
they're like
Lynchy.
possessed. Like the room has some sort of evil current that she's kind of like reveling in. So I like those 3 girls. I thought that was a cool little thing. Oh, and then we get back to Meth Kid.
Yeah. That's what I call him too in my notes.
He tried, yeah.
I have Meth Kid.
He literally doesn't have a name.
Something's going on.
Meth Kid. He's Meth Kid with crazy adventures. He's like the best.
119, Mom.
And he has a big red 1 on the front of his shirt. Come on, Lynch.
I made a note about that.
We're too smart for you in your number theory. There's no number theory at all. Like, none of it will come around.
So I just have
It's
Meth
just the
Kid.
number 1, Kelly. I don't know. I'm not sure where you're going.
Lynch is like, oh.
My notes are Meth Kid knows something's going on with the car. And then I have, again, as I mentioned previously, why do you steal the car during the day? Why this car? Why throw rocks at the kid? Because that's going to get a lot more suspicious to the neighbors of you throwing rocks at Meth Kid while you're trying to steal this car in, like, a complex where there's other cars.
Meth Kid, you lovable scam.
And then again, why this car?
He's our generation's Dennis the Menace.
Menace.
Meth Kid. I want to see him in the Sunday
Cream
papers.
Corn Boy.
Yeah.
You know, everything's... So I watch it with subtitles, and every time it brackets dramatic music, I know.
Oh my God.
Really bad's happening.
Yeah.
Like, it happens before, like, the car blows up.
Right.
It's like dramatic music. And I was like, shit's going down now.
The subtitles are a beat ahead a little bit, and it's a little bit
could be annoying.
rough. So guess what happens right after Meth Kid, though? Our first shot of the Double R diner.
In all fairness, Jade finds the key
Oh,
to...
yeah, Jade. I didn't even take a note on that.
Yeah.
Jade
finds the
motel key
The motel-
to room 315 at the Great
Did I
Northern.
throw that in my notes?
And she sticks it
Or
back
actually,
in the post office box.
Did she
like a
find
good
it,
Samaritan.
or the guy detailing her car finds it and was like, "Hey."
And he knows that what she does because
That's
he's like,
right,
"Do you
yeah.
got a John?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
He said, "Did you have a John in here?"
She gets a discount at that
she's
car
like,
wash,
"Oh,
I think.
Dougie."
He's from
So I
Washington.
wonder what Dougie's up to.
And I said, at least Jade's a good Samaritan.
She is. She's cool. We like
She's
Jade.
like, I'm just going to throw this in the mailbox.
She's a good case for like the positive, cool, chill sex worker. Like just doing her job, being awesome.
And now we can go where everyone's
Now we
breath
can go to
was.
the Double R.
So just a thing about the Double R. Like it has such a nostalgic power, and it is real, guys. Pat and I have been there.
Mm-hmm.
It was when we pulled into the parking lot, I cried when I saw the sign.
And they're using all the scenes from the real restaurant.
Now it's like
this
all the real interior
season,
too.
Whereas the first 2 seasons, the majority were in a soundstage.
Right.
You could tell the difference.
Is it called the Double R?
The sign says the Double R, and it like everything in there says the Double R, but they have another name too.
Yeah,
that
it's
I forget.
like they have a T and 2 R's, so it's like the T.
But the boxes
something
that are
like
the
that,
Double R to go boxes, that's what their boxes look
Yeah.
like. I just died when we
Yeah,
saw it. It just makes me
basically.
so happy, and it really was an awesome moment that we really needed. Like we had been in the muck with Dougie and Meth Boys and just mired in muck, and then we get to the Double R and you feel like it's like home base, you're like, aw.
Everything's the same.
Yeah, and they've got Norma and Shelley.
Shelley and the German girl are still there.
And Toad.
And Toad.
And then we meet Becky Burnett, who is Shelley's daughter, played by Amanda Seyfried. And she's asking for money. Apparently
Doesn't look like it's the first time.
Right, multiple times. And Norma seems to have some feelings about this that she expresses to Shelley.
Disapproves.
About, is this when she says to Shelley, like, it's only going to get harder later? So I'm wondering if Norma knows about, is Norma referring to just like general money borrowing or a drug problem?
Probably a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, to me it was just
Could be
like,
both. Could be
In
both,
all fairness, because of when we first see Shelley, she's at the bar and she's like, my daughter's in with a bad seed, basically. So it's like...
And when Amanda Seyfried asks for money, she's like talking about her husband. She's like giving excuses. She's like, he's looking for work and we just need...
And we know he's looking for work and he was a total shit in his interview with
because
Mike.
he did all that cocaine.
Yeah. So You guys know...
Say Becky knew Laura?
Oh my god, I put that same thing. It is. There's so many parallels between Becky and Laura. She's dating
who's her daddy?
Right. We don't know.
Is it Leo? Is it Bobby?
Right. We have no idea.
Not likely Leo, I don't think.
And I don't necessarily think Bobby.
He had an anvil over his head.
Yeah.
No,
spiders.
A cage of tarantulas. If we say one more person says he had an anvil over his head, I swear to God.
He was being suspended over a big pool of sharks that had laser beams on their heads.
He had just run off a cliff and was about to look down and realize he had run off the cliff.
Yeah.
Then he stopped halfway going, no.
I wonder, I don't know if I get Bobby from the look of Amanda Seyfried, but then again, I don't really get Leo either, so I don't know who her father is. But she has tons of Laura parallels. She's
kind of got Bobby's cheekbones.
That's true. They're very chiselly. She could, if you put them together, I'd believe it. Like if they were standing next to each other, I'd be like, oh, I see it.
The eyes thing too. They're a little further apart than.
That's true.
Right.
Well, if you think about it, Bobby did not make sense with Garland Briggs and Betty Briggs.
That's true.
Two, like one redhead and one blonde.
Yeah.
And Bobby.
Well, and like
very brown-haired.
I mean, my dad looks Puerto Rican, so it's sometimes children look different than their parents.
Okay,
That's true. I've seen pictures of both of your parents, and don't really know where you come from.
It's not. Yeah, my brother and I look alike though, so it was a package deal at least.
Whoever it is.
Definitely Klein.
Yeah, I look like my aunt, but yeah, it's weird. It's definitely parallels between her and Laura. She's got that kind of like town sweetheart vibe. Even when she comes in to the Double R, everybody knows her. Mm-hmm. She's the pretty girl.
With the bread.
If you've been listening to our podcast closely, listeners, you know how I feel about male gingers. And this is one of the worst cases I've ever seen of male gingeritis.
Well, you can't have a crackhead male ginger. Like, it's the worst of every world.
It is, like, so aggressively ginger.
Because when you put a skinny ginger, it's just a horrible skeleton with red hair.
Oh, my God. The freckles are just everywhere, taking over everything.
It's also something that... I was like, Becky's too pretty, really, for this guy.
Right, she's like just like an angel.
Happen, like,
something must have happened. She was blind, and then she woke up.
Something had.
It's one thing if he was like an executive at a company, but like he's a method.
But like, he's all fairness, cokehead.
Get it right.
It could actually a powder. I don't know.
It was. I feel like they are.
You can snort meth.
It's the designer stuff that
I know from reading David Sedaris.
I know, but we've been talking about the sparkle coming down from Canada, which I believe is just
right. I wrote that Amanda Seyfried looks like an anime Barbie. I don't remember writing that.
Because it's true.
Especially the way they shoot her. And they do have a great song, the Paris Sisters, I Love How You Love Me, which is a really good 50s throwback, which that's another thing missing from this treatment of Twin Peaks is like no 50s nostalgia.
Yeah.
In the original series, they kind of have a little bit more noir 50s-ish kind of feel, and they're being a little more modern.
Well, speaking of things that have changed, like, and Andy's, I don't know the actor's name, but the way he's playing Andy as like, the thing is Andy's character worked as a young man.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, like you can be that naive and whatever.
Young, dumb.
As a young buck, like.
Yeah.
But now he's like 60 years old. And he's if anything, he's playing him like dumber than he was in his 30s, and it really gets to me. It's, I don't know, like every time he's like open his mouth, he's like, oh, like he's kind of like he's gotten the Dougie treatment too. It seems like he's like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I think he's just really sweet. I mean, I think he's
sweet, but he has gotten, he hasn't
gotten smarter.
He has gained no wisdom
in
30 years.
So it seems.
Especially like, well, because he's looking for files and goes, "Have you seen any Indians?"
Right.
Because I haven't. And it's like, oh, come on. You've been a cop
pretty. Could it be an act?
30 years
Could
now.
it be a little bit of an act by Andy, though?
I would love to see that plot line play out. I
just don't. I just think Andy's genuine salt of the earth as good as it gets. Like, there's a Pat is referencing a fan theory that's floating that like Andy is secretly like some sort of diabolical schemer. I just don't see it.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I think Andy's like as sweet and predictable and lovely as Andy.
Evil, but just more
become a little bit more corrupt and
I don't see it.
I think I did like that scene with him and Hawk in the sheriff's department looking through the files. You know, we've talked about like how the scenes all kind of are just too long. That scene was
very long.
The right amount of long in the beginning. I thought it was the right amount of long. It was a good reason to be long.
Because again, whenever we bring it back to Twin Peaks, it's cutting whatever kind of lynchiness that we've just had to like go through.
It's true.
So it's just like a lot of Evil Coop or Dougie Coop.
Yeah.
Where Dougie Coop just stares at a statue and does that weird, the one guy that comes into the elevator and faces the wrong direction and you're supposed to be like, I get it, you're talking to your friend, but this is not what society wants you to do. Like, could you just turn around, making everyone
live in a society
really uncomfortable
here, people.
And Evil Coop can dial the phone with the craziest magic. It's like I don't know if elves dialed phones, that's how they would dial phones with what he's doing with his fingers.
Yeah.
And then it magically sets off every alarm in the place, but he's still on a call.
Right.
It would make more sense if like he had to make another call, and maybe he did. I'm not going to get into the computer science of all this, but yeah.
Well, if you can hack a normal touch tone phone into somehow the whole computer system.
Well, no, I mean all you have to do is call a computer that's set up pre-existing to do something. So that actually makes sense.
Okay.
It's just.
Oh, Tom's proven this.
I'm just. I don't know. Like they make it look like the way it's shot, like he's like doing this magic little finger dance with it, and it's like.
And they speed up what they do to make it look weird. I think is that they speed up his hand movements, but the rest of him is still a normal.
Okay.
I like too that must mean that like in the Black Lodge they had like computer programming classes. Because when would? Oh wait, no. Yeah, Evil Coop has been out and out. Never mind. Evil Coop's been roaming free.
He's been roaming free.
He's been getting degrees.
Coop has been Evil Coop for as long as there's been the personal computer.
Right,
so,
that's true. So he's cracked.
Yeah. 1990 or 191.
And
that's when is that the first time he mentions Mr. Strawberry?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Mr. Strawberry is his chip that he's dangling.
Although we don't really know that yet.
For
that's
okay.
episode 7.
Oh, damn
well, we know that it affects the warden.
The warden hears Mr. Strawberry and he's like, he's like, what the fuck?
I don't think Mr. Strawberry can take any calls.
Yeah, I don't think he's taking any calls now.
Some of these lynch actors, this is how they distress is shown by putting a hand on the face in some form. Like
lots
Tammy
of face
does
touching.
it when we're just looking at Tammy's face and she has to convey curiousness.
Yeah, can we talk about Tammy for
restraint is not a big part of Tammy's acting style.
I wanted to like her so badly. I really
that
did.
Head.
And her shoulders.
I don't know what she's trying to do.
Her hips, guys. She can only move her hips.
Well, she's moving everything, and just none of it is feeling
right. And she's got that thing where she equates sexy with just having your mouth open all the time,
like mouth breathing.
Yeah,
which is not sexy. If you've ever been next to one, no matter if she's a pretty girl, if she's breathing out of her mouth, it's gonna get kind of weird.
Yeah, it all makes her feel just affected. It doesn't feel like sexy. It's not like turning me on, and I'll be the first to give a girl props for sexiness. We know I'm Audrey's biggest fan, so it's just weird. I don't get what her purpose is.
Old Shelley is doing very well for herself.
Yeah, I like that. With age, Shelley has felt more comfortable exposing her boobs. Like she unbuttons her double R.
I know, I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Just expose it
with this age stuff. But Tammy's just like, something's going on with this evil Coop.
Right.
And then this picture of Coop from the fucking red room. It's from the red room.
Everyone in the cast, we're going to take your picture in the red room. We're going to use this for your picture now.
It's like,
it's like a screen grab from the red room, and that's like the file photo they have of Agent Dale Cooper.
Could it be?
As someone that Googles images of Dale Cooper a lot, Twin Peaks, like, it comes up.
Right.
I bet Lynch did that on purpose as like a wink. Kind of like jock behind the
true.
bar.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or he just didn't have any pictures of young Agent Cooper and was like,
he's like, this will be easier. Google image search.
Google image search this.
Do we have that printer with color ink?
Fuck it. We'll just use the one from the black one.
Kyle MacLachlan has one in his Trapper Keeper. Kyle, bring me one of those pictures. Yeah, I think.
I always keep reminders in my youth. Here you go, David.
That was my favorite day of Twin Peaks. I feel like too. I wrote Tammy has a crush on young Coop. Like she's looking at the young Kyle MacLachlan picture and being like, mommy like. Yeah, he looks good.
And then he needs to touch her face a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's also the way you show desire. It's facial touching. Oh, the language of love. Do you want to talk about Jacoby's show?
Oh,
Dr. Amp.
Our competing podcast.
Yeah, Jacoby, way to go.
Yeah, Dr. Amp's, like, he's...
Dr. Amp's.
His rant about global
conspiracy. He's
going
up the ramp. There's a lot of amp rhymes, but I can't remember. Doing the vamp.
It's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your freedom is? Is how he starts it.
Yeah, and then he's lighting the lamp of freedom.
Yeah, and the solution is to buy one of his gold shit shoveling shovels.
Yeah. Right. Shovel your way out of the shit and into the truth.
And you can't see the conspiracy without a cosmic flashlight, which is a gold flashlight with cardboard wings glued to it.
Probably sold before.
Right, which we were saying he probably, that was his first infomercial product, was the cosmic flashlight in 1995.
And everybody's watching this. I feel like this is the new invitation to love for Twin Peaks. Like, they have, like, Dr. Jacoby's podcast.
People are actually paying attention to this. No one really paid attention to Invitation to Love when it was in the background.
I think you'll find out that Nadine probably has bought all of his products.
She seems like the target market.
She's really into it. Is it supposed to be anti-weed or pro-weed? I can't really tell.
No, he didn't. He wasn't talking about weed at all.
No, he mentioned cannabis a couple times.
No,
and he's like,
no, he did not.
I'm
telling you, I wrote it down.
For some reason,
Jerry is smoking cannabis.
Right? Yeah, while he's watching.
Jerry's always smoking cannabis.
You must hear, understand, and act.
Oh.
I don't like how Jerry is like. I don't like he's. Well, this is more of an episode 7 comment, but I'll just finish my thought. Like, he's become like this total like
caricature.
Yeah, drug burnout caricature.
Right.
It's like
it's a little much.
Yeah, and there's
more
more
interesting
to him.
before.
Yeah, he was funnier when he was able to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jacoby has a podcast.
A video podcast.
Right.
More of a YouTube channel, probably.
A vlog is what I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Whatever the kids are doing these days. We find out about the body. So the prints that they find prints for Garland Briggs
on the John Doe in the North
As in
Dakota.
the John Doe, the headless body is Major Briggs.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And
it comes out.
who I think of as Agent Scully comes in. And
right.
The redhead military lady.
Charlotte. No. Yeah, Cindy. You're right.
Cindy.
Yeah.
Cindy.
Because it's Ghostbuster guy, and then he says first class Cindy.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the 16th time they've found prints of Briggs.
In the last 25 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, I'm Prince. Okay,
yeah, but not
Prince.
So all we know right now is that they have prints.
Yeah, that's all.
The body we don't know
we don't
for sure.
have any information on.
But yes,
we know that the body is.
Okay, important character entrance. Bang Bang Bar, we get, I just think he's an important character, or will be. The band Trouble playing the song Snake Eyes, which is a really good band and song. We're introduced to a young James Dean kind of type who's smoking right next to a no smoking sign.
Can I put what I called him in my notes?
Yes,
which
please.
Which is Rapey Guy.
I called him...
I said Rapey Barcy.
Rapey Barcy. I said Twin Peaks Joffery.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
it right there.
He's really...
Except he doesn't have... Well, okay, so let's break the scene down. So he's smoking on purpose so that the cop guy the crooked cop, what's his name?
Chad
will come over.
Chad, dick.
Who apparently works as a bouncer in his off time at the Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And so he's like trying to get Chad's attention, and he says you can keep the pack. I don't want any more. And then there's like a bribe in there, or money for coke or whatever hookers.
Yeah. So the police are dirty because they're helping to run coke. Run Sparkle through the border.
But then his James Dean Rebel Without a Cause act has attracted the attention of some females at the next booth. And
a bunch of little fucking smoky babies. His words, not mine, listeners. Little fucking smoking babies. Which I was like, kind of thinking the girlfriends who don't help their girlfriend Charlotte, they are babies.
Yeah, he ratchets it up from a 0 to an 11 in about 5 seconds.
So quickly. Yeah. He's so aggressive.
As soon as she sits down, he literally just grabs her. And this is where it's like, it just bothers me because it's unrealistic, because like her 3 girlfriends are like kind of bemusedly taking it in for like at least 20 seconds.
I wonder, it seems like that's happening so frequently that it has to be on purpose. That like there are these big things happening around us that we're just not reacting to.
It could be like I have read that that's like sort of one of his themes actually, so maybe that's...
Because he does, a girl coming to sit with you at a bar, doesn't mean that she wants to fuck you for sure. You can't just like jump to that level, dudes.
And if your girlfriend's getting grabbed at a bar, again, drunk girls are very much packed. Even ones that you don't know.
Yeah.
We're best friends in the bathroom, and then when we come out...
Yeah, and every drunk guy wants to be the hero. If you see somebody like choking a girl out in the booth, you're gonna like, go, hey!
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens.
So this kid is evil.
No one does that. This scene goes on for like a weirdly long time.
We don't know. They don't say... I don't necessarily
you don't see the end.
People are as chivalrous as...
Right. I think a lot of people stand there and watch things happen. I gotta
people get with you guys a little bit on this.
People get freaked out when something traumatic happens and just don't do anything.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily people would step in.
Yeah, it's sad, but I think about that too.
Eventually they would, yeah.
Like if I was getting beat to death on the L, no one would do anything. Like people are.
Her friends would. Her friends were like right there.
They did say something. They did.
Yeah.
They're like,
but
hey.
But they're kind of like, hey.
No, when he's girl would come around the booth.
Yeah, they would all be on.
Shove her and be
how
like,
do they not have a bouncer at the anyway?
Like there'd be pepper spray in the air at that point.
And how sad is this band that has to be in the scene with Rapey Guy?
I know. Now they can't use it in their demo. The other guys who do Mississippi, their whole their one video is the scene from Twin Peaks. Dave Lynch uses pretty new bands who don't have a lot out there.
And I can't. This is the guy with the really distorted guitar, right?
Yes.
I can't. Who's like also.
Oh yeah, this is
Who I said was that? I was like, is that
Trouble?
the
He is
the band.
I can't decide if I think that guy's a good guitarist or not. What do you think, Pat? Because he pulls some good sounds out, but he's not doing anything technical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's tough to.
I love the bass on this.
I couldn't really say. Honestly,
I just can't decide if I like. I like the song, but he just has.
It could be just what he's
swagger
going for.
Yeah,
so you wouldn't
it's working.
know.
So I don't know.
I gotta say it too. I just think, even though I think the fact that it jumps from 0 to 50, the fact that they so strongly make a visual and auditory choice in the first instant of seeing this character. Because, the first thing you see is him smoking next to a non-smoking sign, which, couldn't give you a more strong message. And the music that's playing, the band is called Trouble, and the music's like dun 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 dun.
It's like danger music.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a pay attention. This is an important character moment, and when you find out this character's last name at the end of the episode in the rolling credits,
which, in all fairness, I feel like Kelly was one of the only people that really caught this.
Like, most people do not watch the credits for every character name. I just want to say, I don't.
But I think it's important with Twin Peaks because what they're doing is they do the credits at the end of the episode.
No, I mean, you know more.
And then they release those actors onto IMDb. They're really controlling the release of who is in the cast as it goes.
Yeah.
So
they probably do that with every show. They probably
they don't.
No?
Most shows you watch,
are
oh, here's a cool show. Oh shit, this character's only in 3 episodes.
But that's most shows that are like they put out like a season at a time. I feel like if there's for an episodic show, they probably don't put the characters.
No, they do.
Like
this has been like a really uniquely controlled environment, like the way and the fact that
they're not releasing as much as you normally would.
Like if you looked at like This Is Us, which was a new show this season, and you pull up their IMDb, it would be all of the characters, like how many episodes they're in. They're in 15.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
but was it dumped on Netflix all at once, or was it?
No, that was
that was like at the beginning of like. Okay.
And that was like one of the new shows because that's the only new show
I
know that
withdrawn.
They do, and it's interesting because the opening credits he is doing like line producer and casting director, which is neat. I think it's neat that those folks get like the full credit and attention in the way that the actors usually do. But then the choice of having it at the end, and I think with this character in particular, they could have put just his first name. He put his first and last name.
I feel like Becky just is shown as Becky.
Right. Yeah, and that was weird. So when the episode aired with Amanda Seyfried, it was Becky Burnett on the credits, but then IMDb it was just Becky.
Oh,
so I don't,
it's weird,
I don't know for sure, but I think she's supposed to be married to Stephen Burnett.
It seems like.
So wait, what is James Dean?
So this is Richard Horne.
Oh right.
So the question here is then, is he Audrey's son? Which we can't get into that full theory until 7, but I have a lot of theories on the parentage of this child.
I wrote that down before we watched 7 though.
And I mean, it's either a complete casting gift of coincidence, or I mean, his eyebrows and eyes could not look more Sherilynn Fenn. They just couldn't. I just think, what? Oh yeah, light.
I needed some light.
Yeah. So. It's interesting that David Lynch wanted to give you that little nugget,
Yeah.
And I am not convinced on this whole Audrey. I feel like Audrey is too good for rapey guy in bar.
It could be too obvious. You're right. He could be one. He knows we're gonna think that it's Audrey's coop.
So then
he knows that. So very well.
Yeah.
He could just be.
Or Jerry's. Maybe he's Jerry's kid.
Maybe.
That's true too.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
he doesn't have a nice car. He drives that junky, that big old truck.
Yeah.
And it would be. I'm hoping, or it would seem uncharacteristic that Audrey would have stayed in Twin Peaks. So why would her son stay in Twin Peaks unless?
Right.
So more on that, we'll see. But he's an interesting character for sure. He's an interesting looking character
and we see more of him later in episode 6.
Yes.
With some dime magic and.
Yes.
This was the scene where I was like, why isn't someone being like, why are you acting so weird? Are you trying to be a villain in a movie? Because you're doing it, I don't know. It's
with Red and Richard.
His name is Red?
Red's the drug dealer who's making fun of
looks like Charlie Sheen.
And now was that guy the guy who looks at Shelley and does a little finger gun sign to her at the Bang Bang bar?
That might be him. Yeah.
Because that would be classic Shelley to pick the biggest douchebag in town. So
good.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that could be him.
I'm not sure for sure. I'd have to go back and watch that.
I'm not 100%
and I follow her on Instagram, and there's been a lot of pictures of them. Before I watched episode 6, it was hashtag the return, and I was like, who the hell is this person?
Of that guy in particular? Wow. Okay, so he's totally gonna be Shelley's love interest.
Yeah. She
picks the worst guy in a room every time.
Wonder where her daughter gets it from.
Yeah, that was a great introduction to Shelley this season, being like, my daughter's dating the wrong guy, and you're like, oh God, Shelley. Oh my.
Excuse me.
Before just one more thing about 5. The very end of 5 ends with Dougie staring at the statue, and the song playing is The Flame, which I really like that song, and I like the idea of him kind of like a moth to the flame, like this statue is just attracting him, because I think this statue is going to be the key to him kind of breaking out of his trance.
Yeah, he's like a moth to the
soon,
flame.
please God.
The only thing I noted was, where the fuck is his wife? Like, she didn't think to pick him up from work.
And they addressed that right at the start of 6.
Yeah, when he gets picked up by the police security officer, and he loves the security officer's badge. He's got this thing with my badge. Just pretty cute. And he's got the case file. Oh yeah, one of the case files is the picture of him and Jade. Dougie and Jade.
Well, that's the envelope that's in the...
Oh yeah.
That's what Janie finds.
Right.
Yeah, so it's basically someone delivered that.
Then he gets in big trouble from Janie.
She's just
Get down here, Dougie.
She's so naggy. I can't.
Well, let's also talk about finally. They were like, maybe we'll take you to Dr. Ben tomorrow. It's like, thank you. Thank you for someone to understand that this guy has had a stroke.
Did you set up the payment, Dougie? You didn't, did you?
Right.
So much
Between
yelling.
Janie and Doris, I started being like, does David Lynch hate women? Like, does he just think does he have a terrible marriage? Does he think all marriages are awful? I started getting some cynical thoughts, guys. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Please don't let me down, David Lynch.
A lot of parts of Lost Highway.
Right, that he just doesn't believe. I think he's divorced, but I didn't think it was a bad divorce.
At least one bad marriage under his belt, I would reckon.
Yeah, but I mean, man, he paints these wives out to be like just monsters, and
It's true.
it is not like that.
Well, then again, Jane takes care of business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah, she's naggy, but she's actually pretty understanding. She knows he's having an affair with a prostitute.
That's true. All she does is she's like,
like,
Dougie.
Well, if
if
your significant other came home with like $400,000 and you found out about the affair like the next day, you'd probably be like, oh, well, all right.
Because something that also bothered me was the phone rang behind her. Dougie Coop gets really scared by it or confused on what it is, and then she goes, "Are you going to answer it?" He hasn't completed a full sentence.
Right.
In like the 3 days he's been home, 2 days. It's only been 2 days. He's still in the green suit, but he hasn't.
I know.
Communicate to you, so he should be answering the phone. Janie E,
get your shit together. Just take him to the hospital. Like, come on. It's so weird. And this sequence, though, they do start building, because they switch from kind of the family scene into the stoplight, and they have that kind of grating ambient music, and then you do see the Black Lodge and the one-armed man. And Dougie then sees the one-armed man in the fireplace, and the one-armed man says, "Wake up, wake up.
Don't die.
have to wake up.
Don't die.
Don't die, don't die."
He does this weird thing with his remaining arm.
Trying to wake up.
I call that the positive vibe dance. He was just throwing positive vibes at
I mean, he's thinking what I'm thinking, which is like, please, it's so hard as a fan to have so much Kyle MacLachlan and yet no Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes.
It's
very hard.
I just want my Coop.
I mean, we've gone through hours and hours of this now, where
Give
it's
me
just
my Coop.
for the love of God.
Yeah.
And since we're on the subject, there's another episode of Dougie being Dougie still,
every episode I write, please let this be the last of
there's
Dougie.
Just a lot
please let this, and just
we get the bit, Lynch.
Be.
We get the bit. It's a good bit. Let's move on.
I mean, yes,
Kyle MacLachlan does it very well.
He's a
very
couldn't do anything
actor.
better. He never messes up. I mean, he's perfect always.
And I believe him as Evil Coop. I can see the difference. It's like Orphan Black, where that actress plays all of the roles and completely believe it.
I mean, how much would you burst into tears if you saw a full, genuine Dale Cooper smile and thumbs up right now.
God.
I just would die. I'd be so happy. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Right. Instead of a handshake, but it turns into a
mirroring
train motion. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing the train.
When he tries to shake the hand.
He's like mirroring his
because
boss.
he's mirroring his direction.
Right.
No,
It's just
it looks like everyone's on the train.
Not firing at all cylinders.
No.
I got it.
He's got some more.
Doing the locomotion is what you were going for.
I was, come on, around the train. Come on, around it.
Ooh.
All right.
That one, yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
From the 2000 era.
Yeah.
You said locomotion, though. You said... Anyway.
He's in the train.
So Black Lodge powers, again, in this. Dougie's going through the case files,
Special
and the
like
green light goes on next to certain points. So all the files that are tied to that one insurance agent, Tony, have like a little green light.
He draws a ladder and what looks like
I wrote
like maybe someone jumping off the top. It looks like in the longer shots. I don't know.
That could be what it is, because I wrote a note, workplace injuries incurred by claimant. So that's one of the lights goes by that. So he was drawing what happened.
Oh, like someone climbing up on a ladder and jumping off to hurt themselves.
Okay, so something's nefarious is going on.
And that explains like why the boss could actually like lead his...
to jump to the meeting with the boss then.
See, this is what Lynch does. I wrote petroglyph at Owl Cave, and it's like, no, Kelly, not everything is the petroglyph at Owl Cave.
If you're not watching the show in a team format, you're doing it wrong. So we're happy to be here for you.
Oh my god.
So when he shows it to the boss is like, how could I make any sense of it? And then Dougie's just like, make sense of it. And then he
That's all anyone wants is their own ideas reflected back at them.
Right. That is very telling that Dougie's doing so well in the workforce.
It's like in the 40-Year-Old Virgin where he's like, just keep asking questions.
Know what you want? Do you know what you are looking for?
What are you into?
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's not the petroglyph at Owl Cave. He's just drawing what happened. That's logical. Yeah. Great scene. A tease, and we had to wait a whole episode for this, but we finally get, and fans have been waiting forever. I want to wait for Melissa because it's important. We get Albert in the car with Gordon on the speaker. Oh, we find out Gordon has a girlfriend because Gordon is on speaker with Albert in the car, and he's opening up a Bordeaux, and like the lady says, like,
Gordon seems like a total dick in that scene. He's like,
I know, he's like,
thanks for being out in the rain. I'm gonna
open up
hang out with my girl and drink some fine Bordeaux, sucker.
I thought he was just at a restaurant and like the waitress brought him a
well,
I mean, he's out somewhere, but like,
and then he's like, "Thank you, sweetheart." Because
I thought it was like his wife.
Oh, that could be.
Could be. You could be right.
I just thought it more of a, "Oh, thanks, sweetheart."
I didn't really catch the perpetual thing at all, but I remember him like commenting on like how he's out and he's drinking wine. And he's got Albert out there.
I love how Albert says, "Fuck Gene Kelly, you motherfucker," when he's like out in the rain. Breaking it down.
That was Albert saying it. I thought someone commented because Albert had an umbrella.
So we get a great entrance. Well,
two
well
words.
Worth it.
Hello,
2 words.
Albert.
Diane. Hello, Albert. It's a crowded bar that Albert's walking through. It's very posh and like nicely decorated, busy. And then we see a strikingly luminously blonde woman from behind with a blue kind of dress on. Albert says, "Diane," and she turns around and says, "Hello, Albert." And it is Laura Dern. This was, Tom and I were discussing this. This was a 1-2 punch Melissa and Kelly guess 'em attack. Melissa got it that this was going to be Diane. Hats off, Melissa. Excellent job.
Coop so well. Diane.
Yeah.
You don't fetch people's stuff and not have a weird relationship with them.
And I had a feeling it was going to be Laura Dern. I knew Laura Dern and Naomi Watts were like the two main Diane candidates going in because they're the two Lynchy girls who are the right age. They are both, I don't know why I thought Diane needed to be blonde, but blonde and have been opposite Laura Dern was opposite Kyle MacLachlan. Naomi Watts wasn't. But once Naomi Watts was in as Janie, I was like, okay, Laura Dern's going to be Diane.
Yeah.
And she's awesome. More on that, though, in episode 7, which is
But
all about Diane.
In kind of latching onto that, Naomi Watts gets a lot of screen time. Like, a lot
and is it
of screen
really
time.
well used screen time?
I don't know, because a lot of it's the nagging wife and just her yelling.
Which is a total, I mean, it's a reoccurring pattern here.
Just there's the whole Dougie world. We just get too much of Dougie.
Yeah.
I'm sick of his kid. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of all of it.
And you crave the other scenes I find myself really being excited about. And especially this was a big tease.
I'm like,
because we waited for this.
Remember how in episode 1 of The Return, like, those 2 people got killed by some demon out of a box, and we haven't talked about that at all anymore?
That's, like, not anything at all yet. And it'll come back. I have no
doubt, but it's like, that's kind of what I want to know.
It as one of her case files, but right now she's comparing what Cooper looks, tan Cooper looks like now to Red Room Coop.
And just being like, they're both good to me.
He's hot at any age.
I don't know. I don't understand what... Because, like, the only thing that I could think Cole is having her there for, besides just ogling her, is to, like, mentor her in some way.
Yeah.
But that seems like a waste of time at a case of this kind of level of importance.
He says she's got the stuff, but
like, why can't we try her out on some other case that isn't so vital and doesn't require so much history and knowledge, you know? Like, it's weird. But, and yeah, it's just too much Dougie.
Because David Lynch likes her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. That's totally it. So we already talked about Red and Richard, which was a great scene. I mean, it was another,
I wouldn't call it great. It was a little bit too long, again.
Yeah. I just like the line, "You ever study your hand?" And then he just, nothing, that doesn't lead anywhere. But then he pulls out a dime and flips it after, like, warning him that he's going to saw off his brain and eat it if he ever betrays him.
Yeah. My favorite line in that, it says, heads...
Wait, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So he flips the dime, and, like, while it's in the air, like, it comes... what's his face? Peels it in his mouth.
Rapey
man.
Yeah, like, he pulls out his mouth, but then, like, the coin lands again out of the sky into... Red's hand, and then the coin's gone from Rapey guy's hand. And then, he says, like, see this? Like, he's like, the tails is you, heads is me. Like, tails you lose, heads I win.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's a pretty dope line.
I do like, too, how we've just been introduced to Richard as, like, primary badass, and now he's been out badassed by someone.
Yeah, big time.
You know, and, like, emasculated and made to feel like small potatoes in a small town.
Don't call me kid.
Yeah.
He really does
not like that one.
Screaming in the car.
Which there's got to be a background to that. I feel like Evil Coop called him kid.
You're in some shit now.
He also says...
like, his character has, like, sort of a weird baby face. Like, I feel like that's probably intentional. Like, you could see him being called kid a lot.
Yeah, like, people think he's a sweet little pretty boy.
Yeah. He's got a thing about being called kid.
No, I feel like it's something more in his past.
Yeah, we
his
might...
dad that he never met really called him kid, and so he
well, I would usually disagree with you on this sort of thing, but you always end up right, so I'm just going to assume you're probably right on that.
I think it's interesting that he mentions how the town's law enforcement is asleep at the wheel, which is probably more to do with the new law enforcement than the old school law enforcement of Hawk and Andy.
They can move the sparkle down from Canada. I don't know which drug they're talking about with sparkle, as we mentioned earlier.
That makes me think more crystal meth, because crystals are sparkly, whereas
I
from
feel like
television, I feel like cocaine is more of a matte color.
But with matte cocaine, white. I think of snow, and snow sparkles.
It could add, I'm just saying it could be either.
Yeah.
Some sort of designer... synthetic drug.
Hey kids, what are you all calling your drugs these days? Because we can't keep up.
What has the sparkle?
What is the sparkle?
Some teens like, oh my god, you guys don't know what it is. Obviously, sparkle. So that's
like Molly gone weird. I don't even know what Molly is really, but.
And we do. You know, what we didn't talk about. Richard is definitely high on whatever this product is. When he gets into the car.
Yeah, you snort.
And we do know that the last time we saw Becky, she was high on this stuff
Oh, yeah, it's probably the same stuff.
Yeah. And we know that there was a kid in the high school who OD'd. So they're starting to kind of have this almost sub-A... It's hard to tell what's an A and a B plot, but
it's like the repeat of what happened in the Laura Palmer years.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I like the Laura Palmer years. That's good. That's good.
It is.
Yeah,
it
is.
True. It is kind of like
there's a whole new generation.
The new generation
just doing drugs and hanging out.
We do sparkle under the bridge.
Yeah.
Bobby shot a guy.
Bobby, you killed Mike. Bobby. We get the return of Carl from Fat Trout Farms, who's opened up a new Fat Trout Farms in Twin Peaks.
New Fat Trout Farms.
It was such a success, that trailer park, the run-down, shitty trailer park, that it's now a franchise. Yep. And we meet another gentleman named Mickey who lives with Linda.
We don't know
that's a Linda reference.
Yeah, Linda just got a wheelchair from the government, finally.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe she was a soldier, it kind of sounds like, or...
you see, now I'm seeing some sort of, like, post-PTSD plot line going on.
More PTSD stuff.
Yeah, there's something there. I don't know, though.
You might be right. Because I got like a military vibe off the way he was talking about. Like,
But the giant mentions
Linda and Richard. He says, "Don't forget Linda and Richard." And 4:30 is the other
scene.
Like the first sentence, one of the first sentences he says is 4:30, which is important, I think.
Oh
yeah. We see Miriam, a school teacher who is giggly and very sweet, who loves pie at the Double R. And then we're back to Richard driving, being upset. This whole sequence moves kind of fast, which is nice. It's like a lot of cutting back and forth, telling stories.
It's like a modern dramatic scene.
Right. Like and guess what? No Dougie. Yeah. Like this sequence is fast and interesting because there's and it's not Kyle MacLachlan's fault, but there's just
no one's acting that weird.
Right. It's just like so we're getting to just these back and forths of like Richard driving high, upset. And then we'll see Carl, and then we see Carl looking at a mom and son playing, and, back to Richard. And then we see, we go to Vegas for a minute and see Dunk and Todd, right?
He gets the red box.
Gets the email with the red square blocking it.
I feel like it was more of a pop-up, in all fairness, where it was just like, hey, your screen just
like... Point.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because he was, like, typing on something, and then it was
He pre-installed some program to give him a pop-up box whenever he needs to assassinate someone.
Yeah.
Ugh, not again.
This was not a browser-based assassination
alert. Because then he also
alert.
grabs, like, a towel to, like, open the safe, so, like, his fingerprints are not anything either. I noticed that.
Oh, that's very, very clever.
Because then he put it down and just stared at it, and then went back to his typing once the box went away.
Yeah, and from out of the safe, he takes out a white file with a red dot. And that means you gotta put the hit on someone. We cut to Rancho Rosa. Oh yeah, the cops are getting Dougie's license plate. All these things that are going to be tied to Dougie. I mean, like, that's going to come around.
Right.
Yeah.
So, more drug mom. She's still doing fine somehow. I mean,
she's still alive. I wouldn't call her fine.
Yeah, she's still
breathing.
Still around.
Meth kid is keeping her alive.
Yeah. Oh, and then we meet Ike the Spike.
Yep,
that was your favorite, I think.
Did not
the assassin,
the
creepy dwarf assassin.
Yes.
And then, so he kills the assassin manager, I guess you would call her, because she...
Yeah, Lorraine.
The assassin...
and in all fairness,
liaison.
we only see her before when, like, they were trying to kill Dougie and couldn't.
Right.
And then she called and was like,
she thought, shit. She gets a call and is like, oh, 2 bodies and neither one of them is him. And then Ike the Spike comes in with the music.
Yeah, and it's a really gory death for her.
Then
I felt like almost unnecessarily gory.
Then he kills another lady.
Yeah,
but he broke his spike.
Yeah, he gets so sad. He sends his spike all out of shape somehow.
I was watching this with my 14-year-old niece because we watch pretty much 6 hours of Glee, like nonstop.
Oh,
and then I was like, she's like, you can watch whatever you want. I was like, I really need to watch Twin Peaks. I'm sorry, like, it's weird. She's like, that's fine, I'll put on my headphones. And then, like, this scene came on. I was like, don't look, Liv. Do not look.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was just...
Then that just made her look. But still, I was like... it's gonna be really violent.
It was really violent.
It was really, really bloody.
Just sort of, I mean...
Yeah. Ike the Spike loves his work, I think it's fair to say.
So, he takes it seriously. You know, a job's not worth doing if it's not worth doing right.
He thinks so.
Yeah. So then we get the Jane E. in the park scene, which we talked about, right? The two guys. She's tough. She's a tough dame.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just kind of browsed over it.
She hammers out a very fair deal.
Yeah.
For
25% interest in money Dougie lost.
Most. I don't know if there's
sharks or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like these guys are let her off pretty easy, but I don't know. I don't know if
somewhere in here.
I wonder if there's really like loan sharks like this out there in the real world today. You know, like it's a very commonly used television trope, but
they were very.
I wouldn't know where to go if I needed $20,000 from a shady man. You know.
Somewhere in here, Richard kills a kid.
Yes,
he runs over this kid who's running in the street.
When we see Carl, when we see the kid, that's when
it's a hit and run.
It's a hit and run, and then Carl witnesses basically what I assume is the soul leaving the body and going
right.
Yeah, I was expecting like his soul to go into the boy's body for a second.
Oh yeah.
No, I was thinking that Carl was seeing death because you know how he looks up into the trees and was constantly talking about how like he basically wants to die, and so it's like he felt it, and then this person died, and then he saw the soul leave and was like, it should have been me.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah. It's a weird scene because the mom in this scene is great. I mean, she has one job, and it's really hard to have this giant emotional breakdown, but then it's like they couldn't spring for expensive extras or something, and they just got townspeople, and the people like just standing about are terrible.
Yeah. Although the guy that waved in the truck that like waved the boat, he's like an actor, isn't he? Like
then he put his hand over his head.
I recognized him from somebody.
I noticed that
somewhere.
The guy in that truck, he put his hand over his head, and it was kind of.
There were several people who just put they did the hand on face thing. I
think that's directed though. I think
it's maybe.
Yeah.
It was just
how else are you going to show turmoil?
Yeah.
Is he not that guy that's in like Training Day as one of the gang? He's like not Latino, but he always plays like Latino guys. I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah.
IMDb him.
What really upsets me is that no one's on their phone calling 911.
Right.
Or
that's true.
Taking anything because Miriam does see who did it, sees Richard drive past, and like they make eye contact.
So I mean, it's interesting. Again, we're getting another scene of inaction from the people around.
Yeah, when
just watching something happen. So it's like before we started talking about this, I really did think things were getting a bit indulgent, but now I'm starting to think that there is a message here that Lynch is making about inaction and just people being disconnected from each other, like so much so that they're gonna just observe and not do anything. Yeah. Except for Carl, who is the only one who like goes up to the. Does he walk up to the mom? Or
he goes up to the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he like kind of puts one arm around her shoulder or something.
Yeah. So.
I thought that was just in confirmation that the kid's totally dead. Like.
But nobody else did it. You know, nobody else like came over or did anything. So he's, to your point, he's like more in tune with some sort of higher power or just. Older and doesn't. This is the scene where we do get about Doris and the sheriff and their son committing suicide. I like Maggie, the switchboard operator woman. She's good. Who hates Chad.
Name drop all of the characters.
She's got them all.
I've been practicing.
She's like Lucy's replacement.
She's
real,
wiser and
she's a real cop too.
Yeah,
Lucy's still the secretary.
I thought that moment. So Chad makes fun of the PTSD. The soldier.
Son who,
he says, what does he say about the war? Like
he's like, he couldn't handle being a soldier.
So awful. I mean, Chad just.
I was doing the character that's like the worst thing you could ever say.
Yeah.
So yeah, PTSD again, obviously, and
I was actually thinking when we watched it this last time to kind of like recap when the other police officer, the younger guy, kind of like stares off. I'm wondering if the younger guy is a soldier too, and he kind of has a moment of like, or a former soldier, and he kind of has a moment of like remembering or thinking.
He could be.
So
Could be,
A lot of cops are ex-military.
yeah. So I mean, there could be something there. I'm not saying for sure that's what we're talking about, but it could be deliberate choices.
That guy, yeah, it's weird how like they pan to him and like he's just sort of staring off into space, totally
Right.
non-reacting to what's going on. So again,
It was a long moment.
that non-reacting theme.
Yeah.
Again, I guess.
Could be. And then the song that they play, Sharon Van Etten to Rifa, and the lyrics are something like, no, I can't remember, I can't recall anything at all. So it's stuff about memory loss, a bad experience. So there's some tie, and that could certainly work, even if we're not talking about PTSD in a war sense, with Cooper in the Black Lodge, and like he can't remember himself.
Right,
I think we are supposed to feel a certain amount of frustration at this point of like wanting Cooper back. So
Right.
will we get him next time?
But one of the things that we do get is Laura Palmer's missing
yeah, oh my
diary
God,
pieces.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Because first off, Hawk drops a coin in the bathroom, and my first reaction is, why would you touch the coin that fell behind the toilet in this public bathroom stall?
It's a gross one too.
And so, and what did he drop? An Indian head.
A nickel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he looks over, oh, these doors, they have a bunch
They're
of
made
Indian
by
heads.
Nez Pierce Manufacturing.
Yes.
And there's an
An
Indian head logo there.
Yes.
And then they...
Because, yeah, I missed it both times we watched it, actually. Like, so he drops the dime, or like the...
Like, it falls out of his
it
pocket.
falls out of
Yeah,
his
he drops
pocket?
it,
Okay. I thought maybe it like fell out of the door, and that's what led him to the door in the first place.
No.
but
So
Yeah,
when he picks
yeah.
it up,
Okay.
he looks over, he sees the door, and then he looks up
Yeah.
and sees that there's
Then-
like, it's been tampered with, and then he just destroys the door.
Yeah.
And then Chad walks in, and that's the first time Chad was a
Chad.
dick.
If your name is Chad and you're not a dick, I want to meet you. Because TV has
That
not
is
been
true,
kind to
no.
you, Chad.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
all Chads are dicks, apparently. Prove us wrong,
Chad.
Chad.
He has not.
That's one less listener.
Bye.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think it is funny how he is thinking this is going to be something to do with his heritage, and it's really not anything to do with his heritage. It's just like an arbitrary. It's an Indian
Well,
image.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's not even
It's
like
not like
his tracking skills that we've
right.
seen.
Yeah, exactly. It's
It's
just
just-
kind of clever.
In all fairness, Hawk is still the only detective, it seems like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only
It's
one
just
working.
like the racist images of Indian
Right.
the
Yeah,
white man like used as logos for companies.
right. So yeah, so we do have pages of Laura's diary now. So that's exciting.
Yes,
We will
yes.
hopefully find out. I was trying to see if
And they call. Well, go ahead.
Oh no, go
They
ahead.
call like when Hawk's showing the new sheriff the
That's the
pages.
next episode.
Oh, never mind. Episode 7 spoilers.
It's hard.
is.
I was trying to see if Nez Pierce, the manufacturing company, was like
They're a tribe.
it's a tribe.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
okay.
thinking it was like a scramble 'em up, and I was
It's
like
also-
Zen creep.
Nez Pierce. It's French for nose pierce. Like they're a tribe of Indians that used to pierce their noses.
See,
Oh, really?
sometimes it just is.
My
what
French
it
is paying off in spades in this show.
Yeah.
Look
All
at
right.
you.
So will we get Special Agent Dale Cooper back next episode?
Wah, wah.
Find
Spoiler.
out. Meanwhile.